Okay, so let's unpack this. We're diving into some pretty interesting material today. It places one of the most viral comedians out there in a very unexpected setting, a federal courtroom.
Yeah, that's right. We're looking at reports on the alleged testimony of Katt Williams,
Mm,
given under oath. In the Sean Diddy Combs case, it's quite the contrast, isn't it?
definitely. You know, Williams, famous for those like explosive rants, the sharp jokes, suddenly appearing as a solemn federal witness.
hmm And the sources we have describe the courtroom going completely silent when he was sworn in.
Mm.
No big entourage, just him, a folder, apparently very focused.
Right. This wasn't a stand-up routine. This was testimony that, well, according to these reports, allegedly had the whole industry kind of holding its breath.
And the first thing he supposedly claimed, based on this material, was that he'd been trying to warn people for years about this alleged world.
He actually said he was putting facts in his jokes, didn't he?
Yeah, allegedly slipping facts between the punchlines. That was the reported quote. Claiming he wasn't always taken seriously because of, how he delivered it. I wasn't just telling jokes, he allegedly said. I was slipping facts between the punchlines.
Okay, so the main theme that seems to come out of this alleged testimony, at least in our sources, it isn't just about Diddy. It sounds like it quickly broadens out.
Exactly. It starts describing an alleged system behind him. Williams reportedly called Diddy a kind of gatekeeper to a darker part of Hollywood.
A system built on what? Control, leverage?
Control leverage, yeah. And one that allegedly affected a lot of big names, a lot of careers. The source quotes him saying something like, it ain't about music anymore. It's about control. What you're willing to do.
And what you'll keep quiet about. Yeah, I saw that.
Right. That last part seems crucial to the claims.
And it didn't stop with just the system concept, did it? The testimony reportedly named names, allegedly exposed a whole web of celebrities claimed to be connected or complicit.
A whole web.
So our mission here in this deep dive is to really walk through those specific allegations, the names mentioned in this reported testimony, and we're sticking only to what's in these source materials you shared, trying to understand what Williams claimed he revealed under oath.
Okay, so where do we start? What were the alleged mechanisms? How did this claim system even begin its process, according to the testimony?
Well, based on the source material, Williams allegedly pointed right at the parties, these big, glamorous events. He claimed they weren't just parties, they were more like, initiation.
Initiation, okay. And the source mentioned specific tools allegedly used there to build leverage.
Yeah, things like confiscating phones, making people sign NDAs, standard stuff, maybe. But then he claimed cameras were still rolling, often hidden.
Hidden cameras. And that's key. The reported quote on that is pretty strong. You think it's a coincidence that all these dudes toe the same line and protect the same people? No. They know they're being watched or worse, recorded.
So the purpose of all this alleged recording?
Control. Leverage. Williams allegedly claimed Diddy kept dirt on basically everyone. Tapes, pictures, emails, you name it. He described it as building a digital vault.
A digital vault.
Yeah. And not just collecting blackmail, but allegedly manufacturing it. The testimony reportedly claimed people walk into those parties clean, they leave with something on them they can't scrub off.
And this wasn't just about, like, compromising photos or sex tapes.
According to the source, no. That might have been part of it, but the primary goal, allegedly, was creating control. Pure and simple.
So the claim is these parties, these alleged recordings, were directly tied to people's careers moving forward, getting deals, getting famous.
That's exactly what the reported testimony suggests.
Yeah.
Williams allegedly pointed to patterns he noticed. Actors suddenly getting movies greenlit, comedians getting huge tours, seemingly out of nowhere.
With no real buildup.
Right. Musicians getting instant radio play on stations allegedly linked to Diddy. He reportedly said something like, "You think talent alone gets you there, please." Half the people I named wouldn't even sell out a high school gym without that machine behind them.
Wow. Okay. And the source says he actually named names in court. It lists quite a few. Jay-Z, Tyler Perry, Kevin Hart.
Ricky Smiley, Steve Harvey, Ludacris, LeBron James, T.D. Jakes, Ashton Kutcher, Justin Bieber. Yeah, the list is long.
And he allegedly claimed they'd all been at parties or events hosted or, like, facilitated by Diddy.
Yes. And then he made this really sweeping claim about everyone he mentioned. The source quotes him, "I'm not saying everyone at those parties participated in what happened. I'm saying they all knew what was going on and not one of them said a damn thing."
Okay, hold on. Not one of them said a damn thing. And then he adds,
"That makes them complicit." That was the alleged bottom line. Complicit through silence.
all right, let's maybe unpack some of these specific names. The source highlights Tyler Perry. says his name reportedly caused some visible discomfort in the courtroom.
Hmm. The alleged testimony apparently focused on media influence and symbolism with Perry. Williams allegedly claimed Perry's rise wasn't just talent, it was more like a trade.
A trade? What does that mean?
He linked Perry's early big break studio deals, film premieres, to alleged support from Diddy's network, kind of behind the scenes. The source says Williams claimed Perry was ushered into it in return for loyalty.
And Williams also claimed Perry started, distancing himself from people who might speak out, even telling his own actors not to associate with Williams.
Yeah, that was part of the alleged testimony reported in the source. And then there's this really striking reported quote about Perry.
Let me guess. The new wig line.
That's the one. Every year a new media, every year a new wig, and every year a new check, but never once, not once, has he used his platform to speak on what really goes on behind those velvet ropes.
And then the punchline.
Williams allegedly paused, then said, "That's not entertainment, that's obedience."
Wow. Okay. That's a heavy claim, as reported. All right, moving on. Kevin Hart. The source says Williams allegedly called him the Golden Boy.
Yeah, the golden boy. Williams allegedly suggested Hart's, super fast rise wasn't just luck or talent. He reportedly claimed it happened because Hart said yes. He took the deal.
Took the deal, implying there was a specific offer.
That's the implication in the reported testimony. Williams allegedly connected Hart's career surge to producers tied to Diddy's alleged investment network. Claimed you could see a bad boy signature on some contracts.
And this ties back to Williams' own famous line, right, about turning down $50 million.
Exactly. He allegedly clarified in court that that wasn't just a joke. It was, according to this testimony, his way of telling people that Kevin Hart allegedly did say yes to whatever it was Williams refused.
And he placed Hart at these parties, too.
Hmm. The source says Williams claimed Hart was seen at multiple private Diddy parties, and not just as a guest, allegedly acting as a kind of handler.
A handler, like helping recruit people.
Helping make new recruits feel safe. That's the alleged description. Basically, claiming Hart was actively involved in bringing people into this supposed system.
So he contrasts his own career path getting blocked, deals falling through, with Hart's explosion after allegedly saying yes.
Precisely. Williams allegedly pointed to his own experiences after refusing versus Hart suddenly landing major franchise roles. The reported closing line on Hart was something like, "They say Kevin Hart's funny, but that laugh came with a price and I wasn't willing to pay it."
Okay. Then the source brings up Ricky Smiley and Steve Harvey, alleging their careers were used to, normalize the power structure?
That's the phrase used in the source material reporting on the testimony. For Ricky Smiley, Williams allegedly claimed his breakthrough wasn't really his jokes, it was the dress.
The dress, meaning the character, Bernice Jenkins.
Yeah. He allegedly tied Smiley's entry into TV and film to attending Atlanta parties hosted by Diddy's supposed Southern team, calling the attendees a groomed list of people who would comply.
And the alleged bombshell claim here, about a contract.
Williams allegedly claimed he put a condition in his own contract. He wouldn't work with Smiley unless Smiley was in a dress.
He demanded Smiley wear the dress. Why?
Reportedly, he said it was because that's where he's most believable. But the alleged underlying reason, he wanted people to see how they reward submission. He claimed Smiley getting his first Sunday role in a dress was the condition set specifically to expose the pattern.
That's quite a claim. And Steve Harvey, what was the allegation there?
Williams allegedly called him the godfather of commercial obedience, claimed Harvey climbed by playing the silence game.
Silence again? How so?
The reported testimony pointed to Lori Harvey's relationship with Diddy, alleging Steve Harvey stood right next to Diddy, smiling for cameras, even after his daughter had dated Diddy's son.
Williams reportedly asked the court, what father does that?
Right, and his alleged answer was, one who's in too deep. He also threw in the older allegation that Harvey stole his TV show pitch format, but the main thrust seemed to be about the silence.
So the specific alleged claim against Harvey is tied to him not speaking out about what was supposedly happening.
Yes, that's the focus in the source reporting. Williams allegedly claimed Harvey never opened his mouth when it counted, adding, "That's silence, that's expensive."
The source mentions the courtroom got tense again when T.D. Jake's name came up.
Yeah, reportedly very tense. Williams apparently delivered that name slowly. No hint of a joke. He allegedly claimed the church is often used as a shield in industry scandals. Not a sanctuary, a shield.
A shield? How?
He reportedly accused Diddy's PR team of using the church, specifically T.D. Jakes preaching at Diddy-sponsored gospel events to kind of sanitize Diddy's image, calling it a holy filter.
Okay, but what were the specific claims against Jakes himself?
Williams allegedly claimed Jakes personally told gospel artists not to speak out about things they saw at crossover events, reportedly saying it would hurt the church's outreach.
Discouraging people from speaking out. And then there was a more serious claim reported too.
Yes. Williams allegedly claimed Jakes didn't just pray over Diddy, he helped clean up after him.
Clean up? What does that mean?
He reportedly linked large church donations, million-dollar checks, charity events, alleging they were part of a cover-up. He claimed Jakes knew about a specific celebrity sex scandal involving a Diddy assistant, but refused to go public, telling those involved to handle it internally.
And the reported quote on that was,
"That's not what a pastor does, that's what a fixer does."
wow, a fixer.
And according to the source, Williams allegedly finished that section by saying, "There's nothing wrong with God, but there's a whole lot wrong with the people pretending to speak for him."
And when you use faith to cover up sin, you ain't no prophet, you a pimp in a pulpit.
Yeah, I read that reported line. Very strong language.
Extremely strong.
Okay, so this all seems to circle back to that alleged surveillance system you mentioned earlier. The hidden cameras, the recordings. Williams allegedly said it wasn't even a secret. Everybody knows they're being watched.
Right. The testimony, as reported, claimed insiders described really high-tech surveillance built into homes, hotels, places used for Diddy's private events.
What kind of details? Alleged details like pinhole lenses, furniture ceiling tiles that weren't ceiling tiles, and encrypted backups sent off-site to servers not owned by Diddy himself, but by his alleged team.
So the alleged point wasn't just security cameras for safety. It was about creating that leverage we talked about.
Exactly. Williams allegedly claimed, you walk into one of those rooms and mess around, and suddenly Diddy's got you. He's got proof. And once he's got it, you either stay quiet or you're done.
And he reportedly brought up that Ashton Kutcher line, what happens at a Diddy party stays at a Diddy party.
Yeah, and then allegedly asked the court why they thought people said that, implying it was because of this alleged surveillance and potential blackmail.
And Williams allegedly connected these recordings directly to why some stars, who maybe hinted at darker stuff before, suddenly went silent or changed direction.
He allegedly claimed it wasn't just a theory, it was systematic. Recordings cataloged, dated, weaponized. That digital vault concept again.
What about people who supposedly did try to speak up or resist? The source mentions Dave Chappelle, Martin Lawrence.
Right. Williams allegedly claimed Chappelle walking away from $50 million wasn't him being crazy. It was him telling you something. He claimed the system's tactic is to label people crazy when they step out of line.
And Martin Lawrence.
He allegedly suggested Lawrence's public struggles weren't just random meltdowns, but maybe someone cracking under pressure trying to warn us. Effects of trying to leave the machine, as he put it.
And he put his own experiences in that same category. Audits, blacklisting.
Yes. He reportedly talked about allegedly being audited, blacklisted, even physically followed after calling out Diddy in the past. He allegedly said, that's why so many stars stay silent. They've seen what happens when you speak.
So they stay in line, they take the deals, they keep smiling. Yeah. So according to this reported testimony, the main alleged method of control isn't necessarily like physical threats, but strategic silence, labeling people, and industry exile.
That seems to be the alleged mechanism described in that part of the testimony, based on our source.
Okay, so let's try to bring this together. Based only on this reported testimony, what are the key alleged mechanisms? How did this claimed system supposedly operate?
Well, according to the source reporting on the testimony, it alleges parties used for initiation, mandatory NDAs, hidden cameras, and the deliberate creation and storing of dirt or recordings.
And these tools were allegedly all about control. Leverage, that digital vault for insurance or blackmail.
That's the core allegation described, yes. Insurance, blackmail, leverage, whatever you want to call it, control.
And the claim about widespread complicity.
The recorded testimony alleges that many, if not all, of the prominent names mentioned knew what was supposedly going on at these events, but they chose to stay silent. And that silence, Williams allegedly testified, equals complicity.
And the alleged consequences. A clear split between those who refused and those who supposedly said yes or took the deal.
Yes. Williams allegedly drew that line very clearly, contrasting his own career hurdles being allegedly blacklisted with the continued, often explosive success of others who allegedly chose compliance. The suggestion is there's a price for fame in this alleged circle, paid with silence or worse.
So this deep dive Based just on this reported testimony, it really tries to push past simple celebrity gossip, doesn't it? It's trying to get you to think about an alleged system: power, silence, control, operating behind the glamour we usually see.
Exactly. And what's really thought-provoking, sticking just to the source material, is Williams's alleged final point on this. He reportedly claimed that lots of people saw signs, heard rumors, but maybe didn't want to believe it. Didn't want to believe their favorite stars or pastors or actors could be involved or had, quote, sold their soul for fame.
He allegedly said, "Fame is the carrot, but behind the curtain, there's a price." And he repeated that idea about using a huge platform just for entertainment, never speaking on what really goes on behind those velvet ropes, calling that obedience, not entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
So it leaves you, the listener, with a pretty significant question to think about based only on the claims reported in this testimony. What does this account suggest about that potential gap between the public image and an alleged private reality for some in the industry? And according to Williams' claims, why did people allegedly ignore the warnings they might have seen or heard?